issue, yeah. Be interesting. The computer tech.
I know.
The camera.
Man doesn't stop. When they hear you record, they want to stop talking. Matt wants to.
Don't know.
I would come with the sewer plant, the sewer pipelines and stuff. I went by there today, I didn't see any pressure.
I'm with CMR.
Oh, okay.
If it doesn't fit, then you do it then. It's not expected.
That'd be a great thing if you get that big addition going. The solar, the dirt company.
Yeah. Kelly, if you like,
They're gonna-
I'm gonna see all of them.
Are they gonna, I mean, where are they gonna get all the milk
That'd be
from?
great. Somebody might be attending.
Is it
I
really?
did bring some extras so that maybe you could do that for me.
I can have some make copies. I'd be happy.
That's good. At least you're not getting the cart and running the horse.
The meeting order is 4 o'clock. We have a quorum.
How big is the additional building?
John and Gina, I'm not sure about
Double.
Gina and John. Reading and approval of the minutes of. Oh, wait a minute, let's go around. I'm Ray Lassett, I'm chair of Cuba County IDA.
They were signed by work at CCIDA at the IDA. Cuban milk ingredients.
Ellie O'Hara, to the milk ingredients.
Raymond and Cuban Milk Ingredients.
Charlie Randall, the electrical union.
Rod Ives, Naparel Consulting, the civil site engineer for Cuba Milk.
It's your turn.
Rick Galvado, counsel for the IDA.
Herb Marshall, member of the IDA. Paul
Too fast. I thought you were someone right there.
Bob Shay, Cuban County legislator and IDA board member.
No.
Andy Reinbush, IDA. Okay, we have a motion and seconded and the minutes. Any discussion? He did. Motion. One second. Yep.
Just pick names. We've been through
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, this
I know the
is,
drill. Any additions, corrections to the minutes? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Bills, communications.
for this month, we just have it's the public notice that went out for the sewer project. We ran for 3 days and that came to $75.82. The citizen bill.
That's on bill.
That's the only bill.
I got a call from the contractor who was the low bidder, and he has got taken in the material for the pumping stations. And it comes to $12,000, and he asked if it was all right to submit a bill. And I told him it certainly was. I wasn't guaranteed it was going to be approved, but I could go ahead and submit it. But he just called me yesterday, so there's no way you'd have it yet. But so,
I do have it.
do you have it?
I do, but I haven't reviewed it yet. Should
I
give me a
told him
voicemail?
that was too short a notice for us, but
Mhm.
currently then we have almost everything excepting the pumps. And
What was the 12,000 for?
$10,571.
I just rounded it to 12,000. It's for the material for the pumping stations to allow the pumps to be put in, so he can put them in when he puts the whole units in, and then just have to put the pumps in later. Yes.
We're not gonna act on that then,
No, I told him it wouldn't be acted on.
okay? Your motion to pay our bill.
So, second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Treasurer,
Mhm. Let's see. It looks like it, yeah. So for this month, we had the 3,500 for Finger Lakes Railroad that came, that's added fee for you guys from the pilot plan. Gas lease revenue for $25.97. You earn interest on your CD and savings for $54.80. So the income for the month was $3,580.77. Your expenses for the month totaled $60,140.38. That was because Highlander had payments. And we had a gap. And then you break down five.
Motion made and seconded that we approve the treasurer's report. Any questions to the treasurer?
If you,
All in favor? Opposed? Carol, do you want to?
yeah, I was just here because of the solar project out by the sheriff's department. I realized that they had IDA money out there. I've been out there numerous times, and the people doing the racking and the solar install are from North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Delaware. I know the electrical is mainly connecting counties because they contacted us for manpower. And I'm just wondering why the IDA is allowing sole contracting to have all these outside employees when it's IDA money tied to it, and I don't even know if they're paying prevailing wage. I sent a forward question. I haven't received that yet, but I know I did talk to Mike Bruno about it from the Department of Labor. He said that the IDA had some paperwork that they didn't file or wasn't filed or something to make it prevailing wage. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with that project, I guess. If anybody knows anything about it, why we're letting out-of-state employees work on a IDA county money project.
I brought this to our lawyer's attention. They both are aware. And that's what I know. Justin is aware of this. Last I knew, we didn't have to pay prevailing wages. And what Justin had mentioned, I know Rick was on that one too. So that should be taken care of. They were granted a waiver. So they have that also.
The waiver was only for one specific operation there.
They're electrical.
That was for electrical.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to come back in and meet with us, were they not, Greg?
Yeah, and they
That
never
never happened.
They never,
came back.
I think they come out of the Zoom one meeting.
Correct.
Yep, and that's when we advised them to connect with you and your organization.
Yeah.
To connect each other.
Yep.
And then we would remove ourselves from that. So that's between you and that company, but they were granted their waiver for that.
But was it for to bring people from out of state, or was it just to bring people from out of the county? Because they said they would have people from 2 counties away. They said because I heard them specifically say, because I rewatched it again like yesterday, and it said that they said they couldn't guarantee that they could get all the employees from this county or the connecting counties, but they could get them from 2 counties away, being Tompkins and up in Watertown, because they had a project up there that they were going to bring them down to do. And that's not the source. They basically, like I said, I went out there and the people doing the racking and the solar are all from, I think there was like 3 or 4 cars from North Carolina. There's one from Ohio, one from Pennsylvania, 2 from Pennsylvania and Delaware. So as a county taxpayer, I'm a little upset that we're allowing this money to go out of state, because
No, and I think we are too. I don't know what we can do with this situation. But I think on the go forward, and I can tell you, Herbie's always been an advocate that these guys are a little.
right.
I don't want to say in words, but I think on the go forward, maybe we could get somebody like you connected, so that when they tell us they can't find anybody local,
Right.
we can come back and say, well, wait a second. The electric union's got 20 guys, they've got, because this happens to us a lot.
Right.
They make a representation.
They came in and had a logical excuse of why they couldn't do it.
Right.
And you called after that.
After the fact.
Correct.
If you've been to the meeting,
Correct.
see, it's your fault.
Hey, I got big shoulders. I'll take the blame.
No, but seriously, if we
Yeah.
knew somebody who knew what the situation was,
Exactly.
we would not have let it happen.
Exactly.
But it's happened, and we need to learn from it.
Yeah.
And not let that happen again.
I think this whole board is very wary now. of these solar projects.
Yeah,
It's not the first time we've had some miscommunication, to be polite about it.
Yeah. The last thing I want to do is put more rules and regulations into place because there's too many now. But like if sole contracting or somebody similar comes in and says, hey, I'm gonna use IDA money and we can't get local people, so they bring them from out of state. There should be some kind of reprimanding where they can say, okay, you weren't truthful with us because you didn't contact any of the electrical people or the mechanical people or whatever from the local area. And, putting a call into the temp service where they're actually having people, trouble getting people also, it's like, just a little, like I say, union wise, I'm a little upset, but being a taxpayer, I'm really upset about it.
no, we are too.
Yeah.
I feel maybe I was a little too gullible.
Yeah,
So,
they were pretty convincing. I watched it.
yeah, well, we actually appreciate it.
Yes.
We do want the money,
Stay local.
Right.
yeah, I mean, that's the whole idea.
Yeah. Because like I say, they're gonna go back to North Carolina and spend, get their furniture and cars back there. They're not gonna buy it here.
No, exactly.
I just wanted to bring it to your guys' attention because this is gonna be an ongoing situation, I feel, with all the solar projects. So just to be aware of it, that there is plenty of labor that is in the area.
No, the state is really pushing.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's gonna be a lot more projects.
Yep.
I think what would be helpful for the board in the future would be if you have anything from the Labor Department in writing that would cover the type of, so we have them in our files that cover this, the typical classified workers for a project like that, and then we have it.
I did drop paperwork
I
off,
know, but.
like 6 copies or whatever.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And basically it wasn't from the Department of Labor, it was from the National Labor Bureau or whatever, and it said that any work, any solar project being, deemed if they're pounding rods or solar panels, it's all gonna be done at electrician grade. So, but that's, like I said, there's just something out there. Hopefully you got the filed papers, so.
No, and like I said, we appreciate it.
Yep.
We want it to be local also.
Yeah. I don't, like I said, I don't care if a non-union contractor does it. I just want it to be a local contractor.
Yeah.
Or somebody local, at least from New York State, not from, yeah. And then I went out there and some of the people, are barely speaking English. It's a little,
Yeah,
that's, yeah.
yeah.
Thank goodness, or at least they're speaking 2 languages. I have trouble speaking 1, so yeah. So, but,
Do you have a card or contact information with you?
pardon?
Do you have a card or contact
Yes.
information?
Yes, I do.
And we'll, I think when these future projects come, we're gonna hold it.
Yeah, it's just, it's unfortunate. I just, once I seen it, then that's when I showed up and it's like,
Well,
but like you say, it's already too late, so I understand that.
Well, but it's not the end of it. There's gonna be more.
Yep.
Yeah. Like Kirby said, at least we can learn from it and do
Yes.
better.
More like the beginning than it is anything.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Okay, our favorite subject, sewer line.
Before we get started, first, Brad,
He's not here today.
That sounds sarcastic.
All right, but he will be back.
He's not here today.
that's all, okay. Yeah, go, where are we?
Right here.
So for our project, you're asking? So as far as you know, we sent the letter that was requested.
Very promptly, and it was just right, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Otherwise, on our project, we sent a proposal to Justin Miller, and I was told, I don't know if he shared that with you or not, it was shared yesterday with him, so.
I'm gonna share that with the
Yep,
board
so I
in
think that'll be
executive
later,
session,
yeah.
and he indicated he'll get a response to you probably later this week or early next week.
Okay.
I think
So
your
we're,
attorney sent it like yesterday.
yesterday, yeah, it was
Okay.
yesterday, so I
Yesterday.
mean, there wasn't a lot of time, but we still felt it was important to come to let you guys know.
Thank you.
So are we gonna go over what that was, or?
At the end of the meeting, yeah, just the board, yes, yeah, just the board.
We're gonna go ahead and then do that with them
Yeah.
at the end of the meeting.
No, just board members only,
Not,
no,
not with the milk plant.
no.
No means no.
Okay, and
I
then.
mean, if they want to explain without getting into detail, the rationale, anything, they can do that in open session. But I think we should meet as a board, attorney, client, to go over some of some of the outline of what was presented to Justin, which is a preliminary stage, but I mean, I'm fine if you want to elaborate without talking about numbers, maybe some of your rationale, if you want, if you're not, I'm sure the email from the law speaks for itself. But,
Yeah, I tried to
yeah.
outline it, so maybe we'll just leave it
Yeah,
for.
even for that, yeah, okay.
Next. That it?
Yes.
So just moving forward, is,
You're assuming that?
we'll push a rope uphill.
Yes.
Are the discussions between the attorneys, we just kind of we want to know from the board.
Yeah, our lead person is Justin,
Okay,
that was decided by the board
okay,
several months ago.
yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Basically, we provided what was asked for, and then, I think some of the valuations to make improvements to the park. And then when you get done doing the math, Justin wasn't happy with the way the numbers came out. But I guess the board can review those numbers and then try to direct Justin.
Let me try to speed this up a little bit. The July 1st is coming very fast,
Too fast.
which is the date that we're supposed to know about the grant for the sewer line. And I was gonna ask for a special meeting the first Tuesday after the 1st of July. So that once we know whether the grant has been approved or not, we'll know where to go at that point. So if that fits in with your time schedule,
Well, we're here because we need to keep this moving.
yes,
and I think this board will be happy to schedule and take a special meeting if we feel is needed, like we did before.
let me get into just a little bit. One thing we discussed at the last meeting was the sewer line extension from the sewer line we're putting in to where you need it for the addition to your plant. Are you the engineer?
I am.
Yes,
Do you have plans for that sewer line?
Do you want me to share what I
Or
sent?
maybe I'm getting into stuff. that's-
He does, he has a lot of thoughts on that based on the geo.
Last time you explained that you had an ideal location.
Yeah,
because our engineers on the.
I had-
he's agreeing to do
our engineer is here,
so.
and he and I discussed, you're a little low on your cost per foot.
You thought I was high.
But that's the way things are, but now I'm probably getting ahead of myself. Because if we're supposed to wait till we hear what their proposal is, how can I?
Well, it's just generally speaking, what I did since we were here last Thursday is I looked more into what it's gonna take, because there is. I'm sorry, I don't have something to put up on the board. There is an existing sewer manhole out near Grover.
Mark, are you listening to this?
Yes, I am.
So
Okay,
the more you can explain without him being.
Okay, so as
Unless
part
you,
of,
unless you can email, unless you have it quickly. you can email it to him. Okay, that's good.
I try to
That's
stay
okay.
disconnected as
Okay.
much as possible. It's just, I don't know, it's my kids that drive me crazy. So during the construction for the park, when the sewer was put in initially for the park, there was that 10-inch line that ran south past Grover, okay? And there's two manholes right there at Grover, plus or minus at Grover. I looked at what it would take for us to connect our domestic sewer to that manhole. And physically speaking, it's not feasible because what we have to do, if you can look at this, so we have bathrooms for the truck drivers on the west end of the plant. So that's over here, okay?
This is the addition?
Yeah, this is the addition here.
Okay.
This is the existing plant.
Yeah.
And the manhole is right over here,
Yes.
okay? So we'd have to go force main one way or the other. We know that, right? But in order for me to go gravity from these bathrooms here to, let's say, this point, which is where our other domestic sewer needs to pick up, and then pump it from here over to this manhole. Well, to go gravity to this point, I end up in the bedrock, 5 feet into the bedrock that's out there. So the bedrock's is elevation 630. Based on trying to get gravity to that point, we end up at 625 as our invert for the going into the pump station. And then I gotta get reserve, so we have storage in the pump station, so we're actually.
So you gotta go a different route.
So, yeah, so I did all the, spent most of the day looking at this. If we put the pump station here,
Yes.
I can go gravity from this point and gravity from this point and make it all work and be above the rock, and then still have the
So
couple feet in this wet well.
So the new line to connect with our new line will have to start there.
Well, so this is just domestic. Okay, so our plan for the domestic is that there's that existing gravity manhole out at the intersection.
Yes.
And we're gonna pump from here with the domestic all the way out to here. Okay, so where that force main ends up, whether it's in the right of way for Eagle Drive or on our property, kind of depends on who technically owns that and who does the work and whatnot. Right, so I mean, if this portion became public, we'd move it into the right of way, but if this part were to be private, we'd move it onto CMI property. So that still needs to get worked out. Right now, I'm showing it on our property because I'm doing the work, so it'd be private.
The drawings for that, it's gonna be done by you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it would be, because I think I said this, and if I didn't, I'm sorry. If I do it, it's a private lateral, doesn't need DEC approval, because it's domestic. If the county does it, or the town does it, or some public entity does it, it's a public sewer extension, it needs DEC approval. So we kind of.
But if we were to do it, it probably has to go through the approval process.
Correct.
And
Yes,
if we were going to do it, we would have to do it before. This is my listening to Justin, before you purchase lots. So we're doing it on our property rather than your property. Does that make sense, or am I
it does, and I don't know if that's.
so or not?
So, the other part of it is the process waste line, but because that's just coming out here, that'll be pumped out and around, and that goes to the wastewater treatment plant on the site. So, so this is, I'm purely talking the domestic sewer. So that's where we're at as far as what it's going to take to get domestic sewer
How many
service.
feet is that?
It's about 1,800 feet.
From your point here
From this,
to the other manhole?
yeah, from this, so again, I just kind of ran it, so from our pump station all the way out to this point, 1,800 linear feet.
And part of that is gonna be under your new addition?
No, the pump station would not be under any of the building. It's all outside.
Okay,
And I pushed it far enough away. There is that in the future, if something were to be added on here, I've made sure to locate this outside the limits of that building, so we don't have to do it again, basically.
So you're looking probably 120, 150,000.
Yeah, I said $100 a linear foot, but apparently I'm a little light.
this guy said 120.
Okay, so it wasn't too light.
No, it's not.
Not too bad at all. Not
I
bad
mean,
at all.
the prices are going screwy. Depending on
Depends on which day you get.
Yeah, you know, so, so that's what kind of where we're at with this.
Okay, yeah. And I'll ask one more question. Would we discuss, I think it was the other gentleman that was here, your need for a separate water line into the facility?
So the water line, well, we discussed a few different things. One is for fire protection, the insurance company's requiring a water storage tank and fire pump.
Yes.
Okay, so that's going on plus or minus. What we'd also discussed was redundancy in the system by looping the two together, you know, trying to loop over to West Genesee Street Road through the BOCES. Is that what you're?
The guy for the Water and Sewer Authority, I talked with him this morning, and
Okay.
he's trying to come up with the number of feet and a price for doing that.
Okay.
But that's probably not anything to do with our IDA meeting.
Yeah, and that isn't a necessity to get the expansion up and going. That's you know, when there's a break in the line and everything comes back up online, now there's a huge sediment load going to the existing plant. And their filters get plugged up and stuff. So it's a water quality issue. So if there's a way to combat that in the future, which looping the line. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kevin was here one time. He talked about dumping some type of water in the stream. Did that ever go anyplace?
So,
He was talking about discharge into the stream.
Direct discharge.
yeah, from the wastewater treatment plant.
Right.
I'm not part of the wastewater treatment plant project and team, so I wouldn't know that.
I'm sorry.
As far as I know, it's not part of the current plan, but I know it comes up.
Insisting that the water's so clean you could drink.
Well, so the intent is for everything to go through the city of Auburn. But long-term, there's concern about rates and.
If you could save your, part of your total discharge costs.
And the requirements that we're already doing most of the way to discharge. So for us to go all the way to discharge of what the city of Auburn is doing isn't much incremental additional cost. So it's what's best for us, what's best for the city.
Sure.
So we're most of the way there already. Capital costs and operational costs. There is, I don't know if this is the right group to ask, there is questions and concerns about long-term. If we were to get EC approval and do our own discharge directly, making sure that the sewer line ownership and legality is appropriate. And we don't get locked out to getting the right of way to do that. So I don't sort through too many emails and I just know
That's a lawyer question, I guess.
yeah. I'm not sure at what point that gets addressed.
What do you think, Rick?
I'm sorry, I was reading. To long term, if we end up getting permitting for our own discharge. So the concern is our quantity and the rates for the city of Auburn. At what point are we gonna create a problem? So incremental value we bring the city now is a value, but at some point they might become a nuisance. So we want to be well aware of that and be prepared in the way we're designing engineering our wastewater is so that we can keep going all the way if we need to. So at that point, we would need access.
You're going to Cranebrook, right?
I can't.
Yeah.
That's the creek that he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you talking to DEC yet about that idea?
The wastewater company, I
So,
think is. I'm not sure where's that. I don't know.
yeah, I think we're going with
Just-
the
just
company,
work on
so
Okay.
I don't think we're going with that direction right now, so. but-
Can I just ask for knowledge, your discharge could be discharged into Cranebrook stream, right? So how much water do do you have on a daily basis, or do you know how many gallons?
After the expansion, it's about 475,000. Yeah. Now we're just under 300,000. The engineers will say that the current line will take like 450 or something, but it just won't. We're kind of maxed out. That's the new portion.
You have to go across the 5 and 20.
Depends where you are.
No, so the concern is use of this new line or the right of way where we can install our own line.
It's about
Um,
6:30.
Because we have known that by the law, so
Yeah,
we could sell it.
plus or minus 9 feet
Yeah,
here.
we just want to head down, past Home Depot.
This
It would take quite a bit more housing, but it's just the surcharges in the city of Auburn.
It actually
And
gets shallow.
the consent orders
Shallow.
or
Yeah.
directives that they're under from DEC. So, you know, they're making some upgrades to handle more of the stormwater, well, bypassing, look out.
Yeah.
So.
That's why we had the plans.
Right now.
So it wasn't the building, it was the utility.
No, it's not, so we have COD and nutrient content we have to hit, and so our pre-treatment allows us to then meet those requirements from the city. If we don't, if we put something in the line, then we have surcharges, so then if we go above those levels, we're in violation. So, we're looking at upgrades to our waste treatment plant, our pre-treatment plant, so that our expanded volumes will still fall within the current surcharge criteria. In the future, those will become more strict, and so it's been proposed to us by DEC in the city of Auburn, but then once CMI pushes the city of Auburn outside of its operating capacity, then maybe CMI is responsible for investment in the city of Auburn's waste treatment plant, and for us, we'd rather manage it, build it ourselves.
You should do it yourself.
Yeah.
That's probably better for the city also.
Probably the less you do with the city, the better out there.
We think we give them some economy of scale, but it's not viewed that way.
Any other questions?
What I might recommend is maybe if the representatives of CNI could, you know, I don't see our executive session being too long, but maybe they could wait. You know, if we have a long agenda, we could, yeah, you know, go in executive session as a board, the council. And then at the conclusion, if there's no one or two, you know, a couple members of the board that want to meet with representatives of CNI.
Back that way.
Yeah, but yeah, no, something that's not a majority. And I'd probably leave myself because they don't have their attorney here. You guys can talk about, you know, after the meeting, which is fine, because it will be less than the majority of the board. Does that sound reasonable?
That makes.
If he doesn't talk so much in executive session, it's gonna be very fast.
We'll be at Prison City, so the longer the longer it is, easier it'll be later.
Guess who's going with you? I'm gonna go with these guys, just watch them.
Yeah.
I'll move to go into executive.
With a possible sale or purchase of real property. Second.
Oh, you did, I'm sorry. John.
It's all right, Herb, it's all right.
Rick? Okay, staff, say.
Yeah.
Anybody have
We don't
any
need,
objection?
we don't need.
I have no objection with staff staying.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Oh,
Do you guys want me to check off on this, guys?
yeah, you got it.
I'm gonna
Yes.
have him join back.